literally getting closer, okay? This is a story of how the Lord miraculously gave me a trip to California. He totally revealed himself, so let's get into it. So I want to tell my testimony today about a time when I was miraculously transported, relocated to California. And while this wasn't a full-time move, this was part of a larger story of me living in California for 3 months, which was a wild ride on its own. But I'm going to start with my journey to California for a short trip and how the Lord orchestrated all of that on his own. And to date, I think it's one of the most insane God stories that I have today. And one that I think really initiated and sealed in the fact that God does speak today, and that he's in the business of moving people around. And that always excites me because I love a good move, love a good travel, love a good opportunity to be stressed in other locations. I mean, what more can we ask for as humans? I'm literally setting up as I go. I plan to re-record this, but if this turns out good, then I might not re-record it. I actually bought this in California, this Tascam. I think it's supposed to be for recording music, but one of the places I stayed at, their neighborhood was hosting a, what's it called? A yard sale? An estate sale. Unfortunately, someone passed away, and they used to be like a music producer, and so the person's family was selling all of his stuff, and this is one of the things they were selling. I was dirt broke, and my mom bought this for me, and that was very nice of her. Yeah. I love experimenting with this. I have no idea what I'm doing every time. I'm like, is it going to work? And by that I mean, am I going to work it? Let's start with the context. Where I was at this time was a very confused and tired place. So fun fact, I don't have the right SD card. Hopefully my hair doesn't look crazy. If it does, don't tell me. Okay. I'm still gonna talk into this for vibes. Okay, so at this point, I am spiritually and just in general in life, I'm in a state of confusion, which is really casual and really common for people in your 20s. That's like a normal thing that we expect, right? So I'm at this point, forget this, where I know I believe in God, but my experience as a 1-year missionary or volunteer task force worker was so draining to all of me that I was like, I don't even know if I believe what I'm supposed to be talking and teaching about to these kids. And I knew that I did, but I just didn't have the maturity, the spiritual maturity, or the knowledge that I needed to refresh very often. And to me, that the ways that I tried to refresh weren't as effective as the ways that I know to refresh now, which is a totally different topic all on its own. I come back home because I get a job offer. It was unprecedented, unasked for. Someone that I knew reached out to me and was like, hey, like, are you ready to work now? Like, we can kind of create this job and have this opening, whatever. Mind you, I was stressed about what I was going to do for work, but I was so stressed in the world I was living in that I was like, I can't even handle the stress of like the tomorrow I'm trying to find, which like isn't the wisest thing to do, but that's just where I was at that time. So I take the job, and after a lot of back and forth, the last day that I was on island before I flew back to Massachusetts, I was sitting in my car, the dorm car that we all have access to. I had driven to the mall to run some errands, I think, or to drop off some kids, whatever the case. And I heard the Lord, I heard a voice that was very other than my voice say fairly clearly, if you want to stay on this island, I can make that work for you. And I was confused, excited, curious, and hesitant, because I was like, okay, that sounds really awesome. I would love that. I don't think anyone would pass up this opportunity. However, one, I don't really know if it's the Lord. Like, this could just be me and my flesh, or the enemy trying to like trip me up. I don't know. And then also, what does that look like? I don't know what that looks like. And so I can't say yes to an uncharted path when I have a fairly charted path, which is taking the job back home. And so I was like, nah, and I passed off the offer of that voice. And when I finally came back home, it was the day before, I think, my first day at this new job. And even the beginning of it was a little bit turbulent, because I had the offer, the package, whatever, and it was signed, but like it wasn't like confirmed on the other end that like I'm starting on a particular date. It was just like things kind of went dark for a few days, and I was like, am I starting on this date or am I not? I have no idea, but I remember it like no other day. It was July 4th of 2021, and I was on my way to New York. So this job was mainly remote. So I was able to travel, and my mother and I were headed to New York the day before I would start my new job. And on that day, okay, I heard another voice that was other than my own voice, about to go into the car to go to New York. I heard, wait for something better. Now, it's pretty clear with the context that was going on in my life that this was applying to my career in this current job offer. And I was like, I don't know what could be better than something that was offered to me that meets my current and present needs, and was a solution for a problem that I had. And I also was like, oh, maybe I'm just getting like new job nerves, or maybe this is me having like some kind of like career commitment issue, or like maybe it's just some kind of like weird anticipatory like knee-jerk response to doing this thing. However, I did keep it in the back of my mind, and I was a little bit confused. I was like, man, like, am I making the right decision? Because even when I was in the interview, like, I don't know, none of it really like clicked for me, but I was like, this is an option and I don't want to deter that. And like, if I'm thinking with my logical and reasonable brain, like, this is the option that like I should choose. And so I ignored that voice, and I went on my trip, started my work, etc., etc. I started working in this job. I think I stayed there a total for a year in total. I left in July of 2022, so pretty much exactly a year. During this time, including when I got back from the islands, I rebuilt my relationship with God. We rebuilt it with each other, however you want to phrase that. My pastor was like, why don't you just read for 3 minutes a day, referring to the Bible. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Sorry, I keep burping. I was like, okay, I can do that, no worries. And I just chose a book that would pique my interest, because one place I wasn't gonna go was like the Gospels or like Romans. Like, I wasn't in a Paul era. You know, you have to really be in an era for Paul, and I was not in a Paul era. I was like, I need stories, I need tea, I need drama, I need salacious, I need shenanigans, foolery, chaos, and like there's no better place for all of that than the Old Testament. And so I found myself through the adventures of Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and I had a great little time. While I was there, I picked up a very important keys. Now, mind you, in this time, I feel like I'm growing exponentially, in that I'm like reconfiguring my mental model about what faith looks like and what it looks like for me. And what true faith looks like. And one of the key tenets of faith and God and how he operates is the principle of promise keeping and promise giving. And this was something that I learned through his word. It was very evident, very clear in the Old Testament. God gives a promise, he keeps it. Whether it's 100, 200, 300, 400 plus years down the line beyond your life, he will keep it. Whether it's one generation beyond your life, he will keep it. And we see even in situations with David and his descendants, even when David's descendants were not in communion with God, God still kept his promise, his original promise to David throughout all of those generations. And I was like, okay, God is a promise keeper. And I actually made a video about this for a little class, like for these 2 students that I had. And it was something that I posted on YouTube and took it down because I was like, this is so cringe. But like the key point of it was so good, which is that God is a promise keeper. I'm a few months into my job. I have no idea what month it is. Where are we? Oh, this is after I quit, actually. I did quit my job first. I had several experiences between then of God just really showing himself and revealing himself. And there were just so many promises and downloads and stuff, and I was just writing them down. I was just studying my word. I was just living my life, trying to find a way to be content in a situation that I was not naturally content in. Let's not get lost in the weeds. It is June. It's the month of June, and it's around my birthday. I don't know what day of the week it is, and I am just on my bed laying down with my feet kicked up, and I'm writing in like my little journal, or I'm writing in like the plan for the day. I don't know what I was doing. I was like working on my freelancing, whatever it was, okay? And all of a sudden, I hear a voice other than my own. This time clearer than any other voice I'd heard before, than any other articulation of this voice before. This time, the voice said, in 2 weeks, you are going to be in California. Pack your bags. And I was like, that's so cute. That's so funny. That's amazing. I love that. Like, oh, little flash, like you're so cute. Wouldn't we all love that? Wouldn't we all love that? Because I was thinking of like, oh, all the cities I would love to live in, or states, like California is definitely one of them. Love the weather, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden I'm hearing, pack your bags, in 2 weeks you're going to be in California. In 2 weeks you will be in California. And every time I tried to ignore it, it would say it again. And this happened 3 times, and it was the most direct and authoritative voice I'd ever heard. It was like, this is happening. There's no question about it. And I was like, okay, like, yes, sir. It was giving, yes, sir. Okay, it was giving, there's nothing left to do but to do what it said. And so your girl packed her suitcase, the same one that's sitting behind this pink thing that fell off from my window. I packed my suitcase that night because I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. And I don't know where I'm going or why I'm going, but I do know one thing, and that's packing a bag isn't gonna hurt anybody. It's something I can do privately. It's something that no one even has to know. I'm just gonna have some clothes tucked away in a closet, and I'm gonna tuck that suitcase away. I just have some clothes tucked away in a suitcase, and I'm just gonna tuck that suitcase away in a closet, and it's gonna mean no harm, no foul to anybody. But exactly that. And I was like, I'm not gonna tell anyone because this is actually crazy. And like, if this was my reasoning about it. If it happens, then I can hear God. If it doesn't happen, then I'm crazy. And you know what? That's okay. Because you know, moving past denial is the first step. And one thing I wasn't going to be is in denial. So I was like, if I'm crazy, that's okay. Like, now I know and I can move accordingly. And so I did just that. I kept it to myself. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to put the future date in my calendar. So that was June 19th. June 19th was exactly 2 weeks away from when the Lord spoke to me that afternoon. My bag is packed night one, because at that time, while I was the Lord's most disobedient, obedient daughter, this one I was like, I can really obey this quickly and swiftly. And so I did. And the subsequent days were nerve-wracking. I was really chill. This is me though. A lot of people think I'm really chill, but in reality, I'm like that duck that's swimming. I look chill, but I'm panicking on the inside to the point where I don't even know if I'm panicking. I don't even realize I'm panicking. That's how chill I am to myself. I don't realize that I'm panicking until later, and I'm like, oh, I'm panicking. We're moving towards this date, and I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'm just gonna trust the Lord. So then I start to panic because I'm like, how am I gonna get there? Am I supposed to drive? Am I supposed to fly? Am I supposed to walk? Is this like a hitchhiking journey? Am I supposed to take a 3-day train? Like, what is a journey? What is expected of me? I don't even know what's expected of me. What am I supposed to do? And at this time, my cousin had just gotten married and she was moving out. She was moving out of state. She was moving from Rhode Island to California. And she was like, oh, can you like come down and help me move? So a few weeks prior to this situation, I helped her pack up her, well, I didn't help her. Anyways, I supported her packing journey, and that was a grand old time. Now, come back to Massachusetts. Her and her husband were gonna take a honeymoon, and their honeymoon was gonna be the drive across the country. And so they actually stopped by our house during my 2-week saga. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're about to drive to California. Like, am I supposed to ask to join their journey and somehow find my way there? And I was like, respectfully, I do not want to be on like a honeymoon trip. Like, this needs to be their time. And, you know, several days cramped in a car, road trip, new couple. They were just things I was like, this isn't giving. This isn't the life that I imagine for myself right now, or that I imagine that they imagine for themselves. Okay, let's be honest. So I forego asking them, and I was like, you know what, it's fine. Like, God's gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna stress. I'm not gonna push anything. I was still stressing. So the days and days continue. I'm checking flights. I'm looking at flights. They're like, you know, hundreds of dollars, which is out of my price range at that point in time. And I was like, there's no freaking way I can make it to California on my own, even if I wanted to. Like, it wouldn't make any smart sense. And then let's get to the big part of this here. Where in California am I supposed to go? There's Southern California, Central California, Northern California. All of those are hours within each other. What am I supposed to do there? And when I get there, am I just sitting in the airport, looking around, looking at the planes, buying water for $500 a bottle? Like, what was the plan? And it wasn't adding up. So I was like, honestly, the only thing I can do is sit still, question mark. But I'm panicking because I'm like, I don't want to be disobedient, but also there's nothing I can do. My girl Stacy was like, hey, what's up? And actually, I think she called me. When she called me, it was, yes, she did call me. It was 3 days, I want to say 3 or 4 days before the 19th of June. And I'm in the car and I'm telling her, oh. So I'm in the car and she just starts encouraging me out of nowhere, and she starts like kind of resharing her testimony of how she miraculously moved from Massachusetts to Texas. And I kind of I was a witness to most of that journey. And so I was like, wow, this is so relevant to what is happening right now. I'm just gonna tell her. And so I told her what was happening, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, do I buy the ticket? Do I not buy a ticket? And she's like, Ashley, I don't know, like, ask God. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Let me ask God. Why would I not do that? Here's what I learned that day, is that there's a difference between asking and stressing, whining, complaining. I hadn't hit the whining, complaining section yet, but I was definitely in the stressing category. So I was stressing to God, but like I wasn't asking him. I wasn't communicating to listen. I was too consumed in my own stress to hear what the Lord was saying, or to even ask with an open heart to receive an answer. And so that was another important lesson that I learned that day, that I try to carry with me even today. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Period. That's what I'm gonna do. So I came inside the house and I was like, you know what? God said that he's a promise keeper, and every promise that he makes, he keeps. And I can't tell you if I had somehow gotten some confirmation that the Lord was like, be still or whatever, but that was just the conclusion that I remember that I came to, and I don't remember how I came to that conclusion. But I became resolute that evening, and I was able to come to the conclusion that like nothing is gonna shake me on this. Nothing is gonna shake me on this. Like, if God said he's going to do it, he's going to do it. And when I told you about the promise keeper aspect that I was studying, it was in Genesis chapter 12, I think. And I had never heard this verse before, but it was talking about... Future Ashley here. I just rewatched the video that I originally posted talking about generational promises and the promises that God gives and keeps. And I saw that in Genesis, God put Abraham in a deep sleep and told him that while he does not live in Canaan right now, eventually his descendants will live in Canaan. And in between all of that, it'll be 400 years of slavery, and then they will come out of slavery with more than they came in with. And that would be mostly in terms of the amount of people that were part of that group, but also in terms of some possessions, because we know that the Egyptians did give them some possessions on the way out. But I think that verse is mainly talking about the amount of people that lived there and then traveled to exit Egypt into the promised land. So that's what all of that was about. God kept his promise to Abraham throughout the generations, and you can check out Joshua. So that was Genesis chapter 15, and then I believe in the book of Joshua you can read what exactly went down when the Israelites got there, and you'll be able to examine for yourself, like, did God keep his promise exactly as he has said? And it actually talks about it in this particular verse. Anyways, back to the original video. Feel free to do more study on those things on your own. 400 years later, exactly, he kept that promise through Moses. And I was shocked, because I was like, okay. God is so resolute to keep a promise 400 years in the future. So I was like, you know what? We're not doing this. I turned to my praise music and I was like, we are going to worship the Lord and just like literally stir up belief for what he already said. Now, this isn't stirring up belief for something that I want or stirring up belief for something that I wish would happen, but stirring up my belief to match up what God already said would happen. And I got to the point that evening where I had gone to, or that night where I went to sleep in full faith that God would somehow miraculously bring me to California without any of my efforts. I went to sleep full of faith that he was going to do it. And that was a really beautiful experience, to fully trust God, to fully trust someone else in that way. And so went to sleep, woke up, and I remember it was a Thursday, I think. So maybe that was a Wednesday that I had that experience. So on Thursday, I believe I wake up and I'm like, I'm just gonna go about my life. I'm not gonna think about this California thing. I have things to do. Let me work on those things. And that afternoon, between 1 and 3 o'clock, get a call from this cousin, the one who was in Rhode Island and needed to move to California. And she was like, hey. And I was like, hey. And she was like, just like laughing, like that kind of laugh where you're like, my life is crazy right now and like I'm dying, but like what a great day to be alive, and also what is happening, and I'm gonna let you know this tea. So I'm like, what is going on? And she was like, so funny story. So while they were in California, the training actually got canceled, and mind you, he's in the military, so his military training got canceled. And so instead of doing the training and then moving to their post, which is in Washington State, his training got reassigned to complete his training all the way on the East Coast in Virginia, which means my cousin would be stuck in California with all of their stuff that they had driven across the country. And she was like, Ashley, can you come to California and help me drive all of our stuff up from San Diego to Washington State? And I was like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was the most bizarre thing ever. I was like, okay, when do you need me to come? And she was like, I need you this weekend. And she was like, I was like, okay. And she was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna pay for your flight. It's gonna be Saturday. I need you to fly in, or Friday night, whatever it is. I think it was Friday night. Fly in. I took a red eye, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll drive up. I was like, okay, great, sounds good. I get on the plane within two and a half days. As I am descending into San Diego airport, I look at the time and the date, and it is June 19th, 10, did I land at midnight? 10 or 11 p.m. The exact day on the dot that the Lord said I would be in California. I was flabbergasted. I was flabbershook because I got all the way across the country for free to drive all through California, from the very bottom all the way through Oregon and through Washington. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real. Like God really did this. And what's funny, it's very, very funny, the purpose why I was flown out there didn't even really end up coming to its full purpose, because when my cousin's husband tried to fly up to Virginia, his flight never worked out. It was just so crazy because there wasn't no way for him to make it to Virginia. The flights just kept getting, the ticketing never worked out. They tried, I think, 2 or 3 times, to the point where we had actually left. We started our drive up. We were gonna go to church and then continue our drive. We had left, I think we'd been an hour and a half, went to church, and then continued on our journey. And I think we had made it to Sacramento. This whole time, her husband still cannot get to Virginia. We left him behind in San Diego and he could not make it. And so it got to the point where it just got canceled. And the military supervisors, or whoever it is may have you, said, you know what, just forget it. Just go to your post in Washington. So now he's in San Diego. We're in Sacramento. And the solution? He flies to Sacramento, we meet up with him there, and then the 3 of us drive up to Washington State together. And so, did I drive that much? Not really, because once he came into town, like, he did a lot more driving, and the driving was now split between the 3 of us. And I ended up spending, I think, a week or 2 with them in Washington. I helped them set up. I helped them purchase their new housing items, do all the cute fun things, visit Washington, do some sightseeing, walks, whatever. And then my cousin buys my flight back for me to come back to Massachusetts. And so yes, I did have a free trip to and from California, 2 weeks to the day that the Lord said to the 2 weeks of the day the Lord had given me that instruction or information. It wasn't even instruction, it was just like, hey, I'm just letting you know this is happening. And it was such a faith-building moment. I got to bond. It was so crazy that 2 weeks to the exact day that the Lord had given me that FYI, that information that I would be in California, that I was there the exact day that he said I would be, and that he had orchestrated it at the very last minute for me, but right on time for him, and that I arrived there what felt like last minute, but was right on time. And we drove through the city of San Diego very, very late at night. It was very close to the next morning, and it was just such a surreal experience. And so for me, that was such an awesome way to see the God that I saw in the Old Testament, and obviously also at times in the New Testament, but just getting to experience God as a promise giver and a promise keeper, and as a God who does speak, does have intentions for us today in a really relevant way, and to know that I could trust him to that level. And that was step 1 of trusting God. And since then, I've been to California 2 more times. Once for a trip with my mom for about a week and a half. And then another time I went for just over 3 months. And that's a whole other story in and of itself. A $90 flight to California, many new friends, new business and work opportunities, and just an opportunity to refresh and to redevelop the things that had kind of died inside of me that God was bringing back to life. So many awesome things I could say about it. And while my journey forward is a little bit unclear as to what exactly is next, what I do know is always next is trusting the Lord and getting to experience the adventure of walking with him. And that's something that can be done in the little ways in your everyday, as well as in bigger ways like moving and traveling across the country, and even larger ways like shifting your life in ways that actually alter your everyday from that date moving forward. And so if you found this at all inspirational, encouraging, faith or trust building, I hope that you would give me a follow and just travel along to see what else the Lord is doing. If this is something that you've never heard of or experienced, I hope that this can be like a normal girl's journey in faith, and just her telling of those stories. And I want to say lastly before I head off, the most miraculous thing of all of my trips to California and this whole journey that I've been on for the past 3 years has been the healing that has come on the other side of it. And I believe that that's the root of what the Lord was doing. Now, the Lord's always doing his business. He's always planting seeds where I don't even know where that's going to be useful. But I do know for sure that this one thing that he's been doing is, the picture I have in my head is of someone with a jackhammer just breaking up concrete, breaking up what's been like stony ground for so long, and getting to the root of the issues and the hurt and all of that. And so on the other side of that, breaking and crumbling and shaking, comes healing, which is so awesome to experience. And I'm blessed and honored to be able to walk through that. And the best part is that I get to help those nearest to me experience that too. And I mean, that's what I most want in the world. I mean, what else could I ask for? Besides being stressed in another place by traveling, this is also another thing that I'm like, what else could we want for each other than healing and then pure, true joy and regulation, identity, belief, all of those things that make life a lot easier and grounding to live. Anyways, enough from me. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you stuck around for this story, and I can't wait to share more stories with you and to hear your own stories of travel and faith in the comments and in the future to come. Anyways, I love you so much, and God bless you.